Hello, this is Adam with DreamMade Productions. This video is made possible by the very kind donations of viewers like you. Thank you. If you are in a position to help this channel improve quality and grow, please visit my Patreon page at www.patreon.com/DreamMadeProductions, linked below. Hello, and welcome to what will hopefully be a full mini-series. Some friends and I are playing through the original 1989-1990 Milton Bradley masterpiece, Hero Quest. For many kids my age, Hero Quest was the gateway that introduced us to games outside the childhood classics. I can say for me personally, prior to Hero Quest, games meant things like Life, Monopoly, Sorry, Trouble, and similar one-shot experiences. Hero Quest opened my eyes to what could be. Over 30 years later, the game is still fun, if a little simplistic. Years ago, I made a video showing off the game. Please see that video for a bigger breakdown of the game and its pieces, such as they are after my cousin and I played this poor game almost into oblivion. A while back there was a second edition of this game, this time through Avalon Hill. That is on my radar, but for now, let us remember the original and all its glory. Before we begin, I would like to thank Milton Bradley, who made great games from 1860, becoming part of Hasbro in 1984. Thank you to Stephen Baker, the lead designer, along with Gary Chalk, Nikki Dawes, Max Dunbar, and Les Edwards for their timeless artwork. I would also like to thank Old Games Workshop for their part in the game. I will be including the larger Warhammer universe flavor since this classic includes those elements. Finally, thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy this age of adventure. The fire burns warmly, but casts little light into Mentor's study. The flickering shadows only hint at the vast number of books and scrolls that fill the many shelves. Slowly, Mentor walks over to the fire. Well, my friends, your training is complete. You are not yet true heroes. You have yet to prove yourselves. First, let me tell you of Zargon. Many centuries ago, Zargon was my apprentice. He worked hard and learned quickly, but impatience devoured him. He wanted to learn more powerful magic. I told him of the dangers, and that he should be patient, for in time he would become a great sorcerer. But Zargon could not wait. Each night he broke into my study and read my spell books. The secrets that were held within them were great indeed. Once he learned these secrets, Zargon fled. When I caught up with him, I found him greatly changed. He had pledged his allegiance to the great powers of chaos. Fool. He saw magic only as a shortcut to power, and paid no heed to the terrible price he would have to pay. I tried to reason with him, but to no avail. He laughed in my face then unleashed a terrible spell which I was hard-pressed to counter. For many days we battled, but Zargon had allies stronger than even I, and I could not defeat him. In the end, as we both weakened, he fled and sought refuge in the northern Chaos Wastes. There he licked his wounds and honed his skills, conjuring ancient powers with which to overthrow the Empire. I must watch Zargon and measure the strength of his magic. The power Zargon has called upon will destroy all if I relax from this vigil. Zargon's legions threatened us once before. Then it was Rogar who aided me and defeated them. Now they are on the march again. Already they have assailed the borderlands. The Empire must again look for heroes, and to this end, I have trained you. Each of you must complete 14 quests. If you do this, you will be acclaimed as champions of the realm and dubbed Imperial Knights. Only then will you be on the road to becoming true heroes. I shall speak with you again on your return. If you return. Quest 1. The Trial. You have learned well, my friends. Now has come the time for your first trial. You must first enter the catacombs which contain Felgmar's tomb. You must seek out and destroy Verag, a foul gargoyle who hides in the catacombs. This quest is not easy, and you must work together in order to survive. This is your first step on the road to becoming true heroes. Tread carefully, my friends. The dwarf moves up and opens the door, looking out into the hall. The elf scouts ahead. The barbarian searches the room, finding an old boot with a gem hidden inside. The wizard slips by his allies and scouts around the corner. The dwarf moves to the next closed door, opening it, revealing an ancient study, now occupied by orcs. The elf charges in, attacking both greenskins, but the orc blocks the elf's short sword. The barbarian, distracted by his find, races up but cannot reach the battle. The wizard runs into the room, casting fire of wrath, burning an orc to ash. The orc swings at the elf, smashing him. The dwarf runs in, attacking the remaining orc, cutting him down. The elf notices a leather bag hanging on the wall. Inside, he finds a bottle of heroic brew. The barbarian joins the others. The dwarf opens the closed door, revealing a rusty weapons rack, and a Famir and his goblin servant, who have taken up residence there. The elf moves in, attacking the large Famir, but the monster's armor absorbs the blow. The dwarf moves in, trying to help the elf, scoring a hit on the creature's leg. The wizard sees an opening. Running in, he buries his dagger into the chest of the goblin. The Famir swings his axe at the barbarian, injuring him. The dwarf moves in swinging, but misses. The elf clashes his short sword with the Famir's tail axe. The distraction was enough for the barbarian to slash his broadsword, bringing down the beast. The wizard opens the door, and the dwarf moves ahead, revealing 2 more doors. The elf moves, joining the dwarf. The barbarian also joins the dwarf and elf. The wizard finds only junk on the weapons rack. The dwarf looks through the first door, finding 2 goblins. He moves in, killing one. The elf moves in, but misses his target. The barbarian smashes the goblin into a pulp. The wizard moves to catch up. Moving on, The dwarf finds the entrance to Felgmar's tomb, alerting the greenskins and undead to their presence. The elf backs up the dwarf, followed by the barbarian. The wizard slips into the preceding room, finding a potion of strength on the table. The skeletons move in, clashing with the dwarf. The dwarf and skeleton continue their deadlocked struggle. The wizard moves in, but can only watch as the skeleton injures the dwarf. The dwarf cuts down the skeleton, allowing the elf to move in, smashing the other. The barbarian runs in, cutting the goblin in half. The wizard walks in, finding some gold in the corner as the battle rages around him. The orcs attack, slashing the barbarian with their rusty choppers. The dwarf moves in, striking down the orc. The elf moves back. The barbarian continues ahead, encountering yet more undead, including a mummy wearing tattered but once ornate armor. The barbarian sword bounces off the once fine armor. The wizard moves up, launching a fireball into the mummy, catching it ablaze, but it still continues moving. The once mighty warrior lashes out at the barbarian, smashing him with bone-breaking force. The two zombies move in, swinging their great cleavers, one striking the injured barbarian. The wizard casts Water of Life. Some of the barbarian's wounds close. The barbarian, revitalized, cuts down one of the zombies. The dwarf moves in, but cannot reach his friend yet. The elf channels his air power, increasing his speed, allowing him to get behind the mummy. The mummy cannot get past the barbarian's defense, and neither can the zombie. Locked in combat, the barbarian cannot get past the mummy's armor. The elf jams his short sword into the back of the mummy, granting the once mighty warrior his final death. The dwarf races in, bringing down the last remaining zombie. The elf moves in and finds a potion of healing in the tomb's outer chamber. The dwarf opens the sealed door to Felgmar's tomb, undisturbed for eons. While Felgmar himself remains entombed, those with him have risen as undead, warped by chaos. The dwarf tries, but fails to bring down the skeleton. The barbarian moves in, attacking the mummy, cutting him down. The elf moves in, opening the treasure chest, finding 84 ancient gold coins within. The skeleton cannot overcome the dwarf's defense. The dwarf moves to the tomb's entrance. The barbarian smashes the remaining skeleton. The party moves up, circling back towards the entrance. The dwarf opens the door, finding a torture chamber, the rack awaiting its next guest at the hands of the orc and goblin. The dwarf attacks, but the orc blocks the strike. The barbarian moves in, followed by the elf and wizard. The goblin attacks the barbarian, but misses. The orc attacks the dwarf, further injuring him. The dwarf jams his short sword into the side of the goblin. The barbarian clashes weapons with the orc. The elf moves in, cutting down the orc. The wizard's luck holds, finding another potion of healing among the room's recent victims. The party swings around, finding another door on the way to the central room. They move in on the closed door. The dwarf opens the door, finding what was once a small library. The taint of warp corruption is thick inside. For a moment, in the haze, the party beholds warriors clad in azure, yellow, and gold armor. Blinking, the vision fades, revealing two axe-wielding warriors in gray armor. The dwarf attacks the first suit of armor, the soulless Northman within barely noticing the injury. The wizard casts sleep on the other warrior, sending him off into unconsciousness. The barbarian moves in, jamming his sword into the sleeping warrior's chest, nearly killing him. The elf's attack bounces off the warrior's hell armor. The Chaos Warrior and Dwarf clash, each unable to overcome the other's defense. His sleeping partner is unable to overcome the spell, keeping him asleep. The elf pushes his blade that much harder, piercing the hell armor and finishing off the helpless warrior within. The barbarian swings around behind the Chaos Warrior, but his sword fails to penetrate. The wizard runs in, opening the treasure chest, but the priceless scrolls once held within have long since turned to dust. The Chaos Warrior swings his axe, cutting deep into the dwarf. The barbarian swings a mighty overhead blow, dropping the last corrupted Northman. The party moves up, opening the door to the central chamber. Unlike the rest of the catacombs, it is well lit with a fire and is decorated. With a terrifying roar, Varag, the foul gargoyle, stands to greet his guests. The dwarf moves in, killing Varag's orc servant. The barbarian runs into the room, challenging the Chaos Warrior, but fails to harm him. The elf moves up to the door, channeling his air power, summoning a genie. The air creature unleashes lightning blasts at Velrag, badly burning the gargoyle. The wizard moves in, hiding in the corner, casting Courage on the barbarian. The Chaos Warrior swings his corrupted axe, landing a hit on the barbarian. The orc runs up, attacking the elf, landing a blow. Velrag moves in on the dwarf. Finding an opening in his defense, he lashes him with his whip. The barbarian again uses his mighty swing, cracking the Chaos Warrior's helm, but the Norseman still stands. The elf cuts down the remaining orc. The dwarf brings down the Chaos Warrior. Velrag again lashes the dwarf, trying to land a sword blow. The dwarf fails to find an opening. The barbarian swings out with his broadsword, but Velrag intercepts the blow. The elf moves in, but Velrag also holds his attack at bay. Velrag, distracted, still lands a light blow on the injured dwarf. The barbarian attacks, Velrag again blocking the otherwise fatal blow. The dwarf also sees his attack stopped by the powerful gargoyle. The elf uses the last of his air magic to summon a tempest, concealing them from Velrag's powerful swings, but only for a brief time. The distraction is all the dwarf needs. He moves in, bringing down the beast. The heroes find 120 gold coins in the monster's treasure box and quickly leave the oppressive catacombs behind. Hello, this is Adam with Dream Made Productions. Thank you for watching my content. It really means a lot that you have given me the chance to entertain you. If you would like to support the channel, please visit my Patreon at patreon.com/DreamMadeProductions, linked below. Also below is a link for PayPal, or links if you would like to send crypto, if that's more your thing. Please know any amount that you give will be cherished and used to upgrade equipment and improve the channel. You can also help the channel by subscribing, turning on notifications, liking, commenting, and sharing my channel with anyone you think might be interested. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you enjoy the battle reps that are to come.